Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I am your host, as always, J Villain, aka That Villain J, and with me on the Black Council podcast is my co-host, Numbskull. Why don't you say
What's up, everybody? How are you guys doing?
Yes, we are here today. You can hear that I'm on my normal microphone. Actually on a good quality microphone. Not on vacation anymore, back at it as much as I can be in the standard right now, but still back at it. And this is the official number one, episode, not just an introductory episode here. This is episode 1 of the Black Council Magic Arena Roundtable podcast. And today, obviously, what is looming heavily on our minds, because we have in about a week standard rotation, and the release of Dominaria United. Some may even say Dominaria Compleated. And we wanted to talk about our favorite upcoming cards. We wanted to preview some of the cards. I've done card previews before. We're going over everything, and I just feel like we don't get as much in depth. We want to look at the bangers. So me, Numbskull, and I have picked out our top 5 cards all together, and what we think are going to be the biggest game changers, what we like, and of course an ultimate card that we say is going to be the best new card coming out of the set, how we think it'll affect standard, everything like that. And we really want to thank our brand new Patreons, guys. We have brand new patrons, not, well, it's on Patreon. We have brand new patrons, Paradabo, Lord Paradabo, and of course the Blood Chief. The Blood Chief actually was the one who suggested this episode. He wanted top 10 new cards coming out of the new set. We said, you know what, we'll split the difference. We will do top 5 for each of us and give you the top 10 with a bonus 11 card. If you want to be in charge of the podcast, you want to submit your feedback and decide what comes up next, where can they go to do that, Numbskull?
Just go to the Patreon and pledge any amount. I think you can go as little as $1 per episode. So
yeah,
very little money, but you can, put your stamp on this and kind of influence what we talk about. And, we can kind of, just go over ideas with you, and, you can help us out, and we can help you out and give you guys the content that you want to see. So we love your support. We love everyone who has even just watched the first, or episode 0 of the podcast.
Oh yeah,
on YouTube, commented, liked it, shared. We appreciate the support so far, and we greatly appreciate our patrons who've helped us out so far as well.
Yeah, listen, the comments too. Comments is going to be big. We are reading every single one of them. I also enabled Numbskull in the comments. He is a comment moderator, so he can be down there. He's officially in the comments of my video section, so he's gonna see him. He can go rip in right into him and take a look at him, respond, everything like that. So absolutely, even if you want to give $1 a month to the podcast, that would help out immensely. And you can check that out at the Patreon. It's gonna be patreon.com/the Black Council. If you just want to join us here and chat, man, well, you can find me at twitch.tv/thatvillainj, and of course Numbskull at twitch.tv/num_skull_, and those are our both respective live streams where you can watch me struggle to win one game in Platinum, and you can watch Numbskull shoot for the number 1 spot in Mythic. Currently, he told me he's 131 right now, Mythic ranked, and I
131 last night. I'm 141 now.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you went down. He went down 10 spots in Mythic. Well, last night I went down to flat Platinum. So
Plat. Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, I was on vacation. I wasn't doing it big, man. I've been experimenting with rotation proof, which is purposely nerfing myself. And also I'm really bad at the game. That's also part of the problem, is I don't know what I'm doing. I keep trying to play cards when I don't have enough mana, and I just sit there dragging the card out to the board and it won't go. And my chat is yelling at me, no, you have to have mana to pay for. I'm like, I have to have mana to pay. Anyways, so it's a big mess. So if you want to watch me struggle at flat plat, or Numbskull go take the top prize and get invitationals, then boom, you can do that too. But you know what? We're going to jump into it with our favorite cards, what we have upcoming. let's see. I think we're going to go with Numbskull first. So we're going to have a top 10. I'm going to go down and think of the order that I think they're going to affect the game, or what I think is most important to watch. So the best ones are going to be at the end. So keep an eye out for that. You don't want to just cut it off after I show you the first one, because that's the least of the important to the most important. Then finally we're going to end with the biggest one. So at least that's how I'm going to do it.
Sounds good.
Maybe Numbskull's got a different idea, but all right. So
I think you just changed how I'm going to do my order by saying that, so that works.
All right. Well, either way.
No. It was good because I didn't have any order.
All right. Well, that was my idea. I didn't want to scare. I kind of have a rough outline of how it's going to change, or at least how I like them. You know, how I'm thinking that they're going to pop up. So
okay.
So you know what? I'm going to shoot it to Skull right now. I'm going to shoot it to Skull. And he's going to show you his first card. I'd also like you to read the card, because this will be in audio-only format. So we do want to get the full explanation out. So if you want to jump in, what do you got first?
All right. So for the first card, it's going to be your new standard and alchemy, and probably use in other formats too, but kind of like your standard fatal push. It's cut down, one black mana at instant speed. Destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. So as long as the power and the toughness say 5 or lower, it's not combined, just 5 or lower on both sides, then you're going to be able to remove this creature. It hits like the vast majority of creatures. It is a little bit conditional, but for 1 mana, it's going to be very useful. It's also an uncommon, so very easy to craft in Arena. You'll probably pack a bunch of them if you open paper packs as well. So that's very useful. In Alchemy, you can hit those creatures as they specialize. So that's very useful. You only have to hold up 1 mana as well, which before, for a lot of kill spells, when someone was worried about if you would be holding up a kill spell, they would typically look for 2 mana at least for something like Infernal Grasp, cards like that, Power Word Kill, that all that stuff. But now you only have to hold up 1 mana, and it just kind of 1, it allows you to bluff, and 2, it allows you to, just kind of make your opponent think twice. Which, if you can get in good on the mental game, it's equally important. So for 1 mana, I think this card is a powerhouse.
I also think that, if we're talking about it, like you said, the cheapness of it, and the fact that it affects smaller creatures, we're talking about very good anti-aggro tech. We're talking about stopping people in the early game. Round if they're on the play and they're throwing out their hasters immediately or something like that, we're pushing back right away. Even stuff lockout like Cathar, turn 3 Cathars, we're knocking them back and getting our cards back. So it's for the meta right now. I think a cheap, low cost removal against other that flaw of low cost creatures. Everyone is running hard aggro right now. If you're going really on what is top right now, I think that having that just really just quick draw removal is gonna affect. It's gonna make, like you said, it's gonna bluff people. It's gonna make them think twice about laying out a lot of good stuff early on. So yeah, that's definitely a great pick. Like I said, even just to tech that out, even to splash that black in, just for right now, I think the game is moving really fast. You're either running long control. There's no mid-range. We're running long control, or we're running hyper aggro with Boros. So I think that kind of return to mid-range. Let's try to tempo things out.
Just really good for tempo.
Yeah. So very good grab there. I like it. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. And again, uncommon card is extremely useful. People get upset. They say, I don't have any cards for that. I can't craft anything for the new set. Listen, man, if you're saving gold, if you're saving some wilds, you're going to get a leg up just because of that, little things like that. So that's pretty good. I like that one.
Yeah. Not to mention, you don't have to worry, before you were like, oh man, I hope I draw my Infernal Grasp next turn, or but then you had to wait till turn 2, and then you got to lose 2 life over it. And now it's it's 1 turn sooner and you're not losing life.
Yeah.
It really, it kind of helps you buy time in that aggro matchup to stabilize.
Especially even if they're running green and they're throwing down mana rocks or something like that. They're throwing down mana dorks.
Just take it out.
Just take it out. Just slow the
Yeah.
pace of the game down with black. So very much fan of that one. That one's absolutely one to keep an eye on. My first one, that is, I was questioning whether or not to even include this, but I think it's got too much utility overall to not include it, and that one is Twinferno. That is 1 red and 1 instant. It is an uncommon, so again, pretty accessible early on, and it has 2 features. You choose one. Whenever you cast your next instant, sorcery, or spell, you copy it, and you gain new targets for the copy. So basically like double strike, double, what was that one? Double shot, double cast. The 2 red.
Dual strike.
Dual strike, yeah. Dual strike. I never play it. I don't like dual striking. Yeah, I'm never going to dual strike you, Atashas. So it's kind of like dual strike, except it's more flexible. First of all, it's not 2 red. It's red and another, so it splashes well in a different color. But the secondary one, I think, is going to be more key for me personally. This is kind of why I chose it. The other thing you can choose is target creature you control gains double strike until the end of turn. Now, as an instant, this is kind of a miniature Embercleave, okay? Because they can declare blockers. They say, all right, well, only this 3/3 is going in. Well, guess what? Boom. Now it's 6/6 damage. That can be detrimental. That can be a game right there. And I'm already thinking people are going to put this on Boros, and they're going to run Luminous Assassin. What's that one called? Luminous, the one that every time you cast it, it connives. It's the white card. I know you don't play white, so what's his name? Luminous. Oh, you froze again.
Virtuoso.
Luminous.
It's the Virtuoso.
Illuminator Virtuoso, is that what it is?
Yeah, Illuminator. Yep.
Illuminator Virtuoso. Yeah. So if you have something like this and you're hitting it Illuminator Virtuoso, because it's an effect, it's gonna connive, which means it's gonna get +1/+1, and it's gonna get double strike. Well, it already has double strike, but even stuff that's gonna hit trample, even if you're going in with big, you splash this in Gruul. Something in Gruul, kind of like if you have just something big and stompy and you say, well, it's a 6/6 trample, well, now it's a 12/12 trample, it's very, very dangerous. So as far as a sneaky play, it is a bit of a sneaky red, and the fact that it can do both, it can either double cast a different card or give you double strike, a nice little thing to have in your utility belt, especially being an uncommon going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe in those Kodama decks where that gives modified creatures trample. So just as long as you got counters on your creature, then anything, it just Embercleaves any creature at that point for that turn.
Yeah.
So 2 mana Embercleave anything in a Kodama kind of like Gruul modified deck that seems phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Copying spells, double removal for 2 extra.
Yeah. Even with the last one that we talked about, the 1-drop black removal, that's 3. You pay 3, remove two creatures. Yeah. So we're talking about Rakdos heavy removal. It's I mean, it's a Swiss Army knife. You can think of a lot of uses for something like this. So that's the one that I'm
burn too.
Oh yeah, even burn, pump ups, card draw. I mean, a lot of different utility in Twinferno. So I think it's definitely going to be something that we're going to be seeing. At least I'm going to be playing it in some red. So. Yeah. Absolutely.
In draft too.
Yeah, that's a banger in draft. You can really sneak across.
Yeah.
Listen, the old trick of them declaring blockers then hitting it, that's an old standby. That'll never get old. of pumping up a creature post.
That's how the game works.
Yeah, that's how the game works. Of pumping up a creature post blocker declaration. So you got to keep an eye on that. All right.
In drafting, they always say it's a non-blocking format. Yeah. So. They let you swing because they're going to swing back next turn. They don't want to lose the creatures. So you have Twinferno. Well, now you can punish them for that, and you can maybe force them to block next turn.
Yeah. And again, at the price of an uncommon, easy entry. Easy one to grab.
Nothing wrong with that.
Easy run to grab. All right, what do you got at the number 4 spot, Numbskull?
Number 4, I know that, there was some talk about this when they were saying there's a completed Weatherlight. So I am going to do that. The Weatherlight Compleated.
This is
crazy. I like it as a 2 mana thing. I just think it's gonna do a lot for 2 mana, and it's just something you drop it on turn 2, and as the game progresses, it just really goes. So it's Weatherlight Completed, 2 mana, legendary artifact vehicle. It is a mythic, so keep that in mind. As long as Weatherlight Compleated, 1 second here. As long as Weatherlight Compleated has 4 or more Phyresis counters on it, it's a Phyrexian creature in addition to its other types. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a Phyresis counter on Weatherlight Compleated, then draw a card if it has 7 or more Phyresis counters on it, and then if it doesn't, you scry 1. So basically, it seems like every time a creature dies, it's going to get a counter. Then if it has 4, it's also a Phyrexian. And then every time one dies, you scry. But then if it has 7, then you're just drawing cards every time. So it immediately screams to me, Rack Sack. Even the mono black decks that Jay and I play, there's a decent amount of sacrifice. Or we just have creatures out there as meat shields for chump blockers. So a lot of stuff's going to die. Gets around, board wipes, this and that. I don't even know. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. It doesn't get around board wipe because it's not a... Well, yeah, sorry. I guess it is because it starts off as a vehicle. And then it turns into a creature. So you don't crew this.
No, you don't
actually crew this.
The ship actually is coming alive.
Yeah, so it kind of like is almost... It's almost like, think of like in Yu-Gi-Oh! When you had to sacrifice other creatures to summon, or monsters, if you will, to get out your big boy. This is kind of like that. You have 4. Hopefully, they're just 4 little guys who die. And hopefully you don't lose like really important creatures. But even if you do, 4 creatures and then boom, this is a 5/5 flyer, and that can snowball pretty quick. I know there's other synergy coming around with like Phyrexian creatures as well. So if you happen to run other Phyrexians in your deck, you could have additional synergies there. And then, you're just drawing cards whenever your creatures die or scrying. It's just very helpful, and it's a passive thing to an already pretty powerful creature that you only paid 2 mana for.
And I think that if I can lore nerd out a little bit, I was around for the original Phyrexian crew, which was like in 96, 97. I mean, not Phyrexian, Weatherlight crew, which was Gerard, Sisay, Urtai, Squee. This card from lore-wise, this is like if the Millennium Falcon got taken by the Empire and turned into a Death Star. It's that crazy. It's like an iconic ship that was like the hero's magic flying ship. If you want to go Final Fantasy, it's like the High Wind being turned into a mech that's destroying cities. It's a very interesting that the Weatherlight itself, that completion can not only happen to people, but that completion being the process of undergoing a Phyrexian transformation, but that a literal object underwent a Phyrexian transformation. And the way it's doing it is things are dying, so as opposed to taking a biological person and adding machine components, they took a machine and added biological components to it and completed it that way, which is pretty nifty to say the least, to kind of lore out on what the Phyrexians are actually about and what they're doing. So that's pretty fun on there. And when you're talking about, like you said, when you're talking about low sacrifices, I mean, you could meat hook and have this thing out immediately. You could throw it on turn 3, turn 4. You could have enough junk out that you could turn 4 meat hook a ton of your own stuff and damn near have it ready to go. And you could just suddenly just pop out and boom. And because it's a vehicle, because it's been out, it's not gonna have summoning sickness. So all of a sudden, them not having able to deal with a 5/5 flyer out the gate is gonna be really useful. And the fact that you can scry and draw cards off it in the late game, pretty solid.
And you're gonna probably, once it becomes a creature, you're gonna be having the opponent scrambling to find removal for, to remove a big creature that you only paid 2 mana for, and you're like, you already did a bunch of other stuff by the time it becomes a creature. But then when it is, they're really worried about it. Well, in the meantime, your Graveyard Trespassers been chilling, swinging every turn, whatever you have out. Yep. If you play with red, your Stormseeker's been out swinging, your Blood Artist has been putting in work. You know what I mean? Lots of stuff. So
you've already built up. A turn 2, you've already built up a lot of threats by the time they're ready to deal with it.
Yeah. So unless they run the hard artifact removal, which maybe that's gonna be a thing. It seems like there's some actually pretty powerful artifacts that are coming from this set. So you may see people running more just straight up hard artifact removal, a braid. I think there's like a 1 mana artifact removal specifically for artifacts. So you may see that, but there might be a good time frame where people haven't caught on yet, and you can just you can get some easy wins with this card.
That's good stuff. And again, it's crazy to see something so iconic for Magic just get Phyrexianized like that. For me, for somebody who's been playing since the original Voyage of the Weatherlight, I'm like, damn, they did it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. My number 4 is gonna be an odd one, and I'm leaning a little bit on red here, but I'm looking at Yavimaya Iconoclast. The Yavimaya Forest is a big deal in Dominaria. It's one of the big major forests. It's where the elves are from, and this is an elf. This is a 3/4 elf that has a red kicker. This is a 3/2 elf. Creature elf. It is uncommon. It's 1 green and 1 with a 1 red kicker. It already has trample on it, so you're already getting a 3/2 trample for only 2 mana and an uncommon. Pretty solid already. Okay, so that's pretty good. Turn 2, you're getting some aggression in there, but turn 3, you can kick it with 1 red, and it's +1/+1 and haste. So you're getting a 4/3 haste on round 3. On round 3 for 3 mana. That's a lot of aggression out of Gruul. And getting that 1/1 counter, if we're talking about having things that are modified, that's going to feed into your Raiju, that's going to feed into your, a lot of different things that are modified, that's going to feed into your, what's the one, Kami, Flame of the Kami or something like that. Anything that's a modified creature, 4/3 trample on turn 3, especially if you're on the play, that's a lot of power to be throwing down range very quickly. I thought it was a very useful card. I think this is going to see a lot of play in some aggro decks. Even me, who is not that big a fan of Gruul, was thinking, man, this could really do something. This is a lot of elf to swing early on in the game, especially having the flexibility of kicker and non-kicker going forward. So that's kind of why I chose this one. I'm starting off with some cheaper things that are more available that I think are going to see more general play, kind of the foot soldiers, but we're building to some more mythic stuff like that. So 1 red, that's what I'm thinking. 1 green and 1, 3/2 trample, and then 1 red, 1 green and 1. It's a 4/3 trample haste. Pretty solid overall. Just a great foot soldier for any kind of green or red decks.
Yeah, I think the fact that it gains haste, +1/+1 in haste, it's almost like a Shatter Skull Charger in a way, but it stays out, which is great. It'll make elves a little bit stronger, and even if you don't pay the kicker, 2 mana 3/2 trample, those are fine stats. People pay 2 mana for a regular 2/2, a vanilla 2/2, with maybe lifelink or something. That's a phenomenal card. And another one I see being very good in draft as well.
Yeah, and I think that at the price of uncommon wild cards, I think you're getting your money's worth. If you're going to craft this, if you're going to go green or you're going to go Gruul aggro, I think you're absolutely getting your wild cards worth of craft on this one. I would craft all 4 of these right out the gate, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. I don't think you're ever going to lose value on this one going forward. So that's one to watch. Definitely one to watch. And listen, I'm not a green fan. I'm not a huge green fan. And even I was like, that's a pretty good deal right there. That's a pretty good deal.
I don't like green too much, but Gruul has always been fun.
Gruul aggro. There's a lot of Gruul support right now because of everything that went on with New Capenna. Because there was 2 colors that were using Gruul in them. There was the Riveteers and there was the Cabaretti. So there's a lot of Gruul support out there right now. So
absolutely,
you got to think that and there's a lot of elves out there. There was like what are they called? Oh man, I can never remember the name of cards. I'm the worst.
There's Galagreeters.
Galagreeters, that's right. Yeah, this with Galagreeters, that's another elf druid. So you can start kind of seeing an outline of a Gruul elves deck that could be really aggressive with a lot of the stuff. It's going to pair well with New Capenna very well, I think. Yeah,
I think it's a solid addition.
All right, what do you think, Nam? What's in your number 3 spot?
Number 3, we're gonna go with Defiler of Vigor. That's going to be so. I guess there are. It looks like there are defilers for a few different colors. I've seen a green one and a white one so far. I would imagine that the defilers will be like your motif of like there's one of every color, kind of like there was. Yeah,
I think the only one we've seen is Defiler of Faith, which is another white one.
The white one. So there's Defiler of Vigor, which is green. So I'm thinking maybe they're gonna drop more, or maybe they just have these two. Who knows? But it might be your motif of like one of each color. We have a lot of cards to go, so we'll see. But yeah, it is 5 mana. It's 3 colorless, 2 green. It is a Phyrexian once again, Phyrexian Worm. It is a 6/6 trample for 5. So just off the bat,
yeah,
that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, Rootbreaker Worm was like 7 for that much. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're already getting crazy value, which green creatures you're used to getting a little bit more than you pay for it in the value. Like your stats to mana spent ratio, you typically will get the your buff stats. But in addition to all of that, you're gonna get basically it's the one that turns it into for green spells. You can make it so that the green spells to pay the green, you can pay the 2 life, so you can convert it into like Phyrexian mana, so to speak. And keep in mind, it only reduces the green. Whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature, or sorry, on each creature you control. Not even green creatures, just creatures. Period. So it's like a anthem every turn, and they're counters as well. So that would work in your modified. A little high mana cost for a modified deck, but green has ways to make creature spells cost less. Has obviously this one makes green spells in general, permanent spells cost less. So even just dropping, you could have maybe you're in a position where you can double spell on turn 5, but you play the Defiler instead, and then the next turn you drop your Ranger's class. You drop a smaller green creature. Well, that's 2 green permanents, so you just got 2 counters on all of your creatures. So, in my opinion, this is an incredibly powerful card. 6/6 out the gate. Doesn't have haste, but that's okay. It'll be a heck of a body to block anything that's going to be thrown at it. So, this is I would consider this to be a bomb. This is a bomb.
Yeah, this is that Phyrexian mana. Listen, Phyrexian mana back in the day when they originally did Mirrored In, that was broken, man. The fact that you could just cash out any kind of... That's why they had to kind of modify it for this. You don't see Phyrexian mana too much. Phyrexian mana, just when you could pay life instead of paying anything, like, good lord, man. You're just... The value of it. Who cares about paying life? You know what I mean? Life is a resource. Yeah. I'd rather pay life than mana. Especially in green, where you have life gain options. Life, so. Green gains life. It doesn't as much as white, but I mean it's in there. Sure. So absolutely terrible. And especially if you're like you said, if you're gonna pair this up with a lot of small green spells and load it up. I'm thinking of pairing this with something like Uverwald and Horror. The Horror Uverwald, something like that. That's gonna also give everybody +1/+1. That's gonna really and trample to everybody else. So you're talking about 2 big green bombs on the board and just absolutely ripping into people. Really, really a lot of aggression there. And the fun thing about Phyrexians always specifically went after white and green in the lore, at least. They would work with blue and they would work with red, but their arch enemy obviously being black, the opposite of black is white and green. Those are its opposition colors. So I don't know if we'll see the full gamut of Defilers. I'd like to see that. Back in the day, cool. If we're talking about old Phyrexia, where I used to play back in the 90s, we had the Eastern Paladin and the Western Paladin, which were protection from green and protection from white. So they might be following that theme of, anti-green, anti-white. So it's going to be interesting, but it's a really good card. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah. And as if Mono Green wasn't strong enough already.
Oh, yeah.
Now you give it, like, arguably the perfect top end at 5 mana. A lot of times they would kind of top out with like the oddity, you know what I mean? Some of them would run the Avabruck Caretaker, which, yeah, you can make that argument but for the most part, your top out is 4 mana with your oddity. So now you're talking about having an even stronger creature as a 5-drop. And kind of also, like we were talking about earlier, allows that to be more, or allows the green decks to go a little more mid-rangey and play that longer game when you're buffing all your creatures every turn.
Absolutely. Solid card. For my number 3 spot, I'm coming in with Tori di Avenanti. Tori di Avenant, the Fury Rider. If we're talking about Boros being top meta right now, Boros aggro being top meta, this is, and also Knights. This is really going to shake up a lot of Knights because there's some very good historic and explorer Boros Knights decks. But even just currently on Boros Knights, I have a Boros Knights deck ready to go that is waiting for her to slot in. She is a 3/3 legendary creature, human knight, uncommon. Her casting cost is white, 2 red, and 1, so 4 total. She has vigilance and trample. And then whenever she attacks, all other attacking creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Your red creatures gain trample, your white creatures, and all your other white creatures untap. So they don't gain vigilance, they have to tap originally to go in, but when they attack as long as they're attacking with her. So everybody that's red gets trample, everybody that's white untaps. So she is an absolute banger for Boros aggro support.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on there, and everybody's getting +1/+1. So really, I mean, she is a total Boros commander. And as far as a knight, if we're putting her in knight tribal, she doesn't have haste, but I mean, even so, there's a lot of ways. If we had a rabbit battery, we throw a rabbit battery on her, turn 4, swing everybody in on her, and just go to town. That extra damage going in for trample on red, and that extra ability to return to blocking state with white is just going to absolutely support that aggressive playstyle we already see in Boros, which is probably one of the top decks right now. I don't know if it's really fallen off its throne yet. It's only going to get better with Tori di Avenanti, Fury Rider. Really, really cool. And a human knight. So if you're thinking about doing humans or knights, tribal later on, in explorer, in historic, anything like that, she's going to be the one to keep. She's going to be one to keep around for that one. So, and also as an uncommon, again, really bomb uncommons. Don't worry, I'm going to get into my mythic rares soon, so don't worry. We'll have you spending those big cards later.
And for people who play Commander, I've seen people talking on Twitter about making this their Commander. Like, this is the first Commander deck they're going to build. You know, they're going to go like Boros Knights in Commander. That seems very viable. So, you know, Tori, excellent commander. The mana cost, the mana constraints are, I mean, you know, you need 2 red and a white. It's not out of the question because I think Boros typically leans a little bit more red than white anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, right now
it's phenomenal. It's a great deck.
Well, right now, we have so much treasure gen that I don't even really see that. Like in Boros, especially in red, we have so much treasure gen in red, man. You know,
that's true.
There's the ability you if you want to put out Sticky Fingers early on, or you want to put out what's that one, Goldhound early on, you're gonna have the flexibility. Like I'm really not turned off. That's easy. I'm not really turned off by that. I think if you were trying to triple color her, if you were trying to go into Mardu, I think that she's kind of set up to stay out of Mardu because she's a little trickier for that. Because you're going to be having those extra mana slots being taken up by, you know, black and stuff like that. So Mardu Knights, I'm not sure if she's going to work, which is disappointing. But, I mean, for Boros, with the treasure, I think she's easy. Yeah, I think she's an easy grab there. And she is, if you're starting a commander deck, a knight commander, you want to get into commander, Boros commander, she's an uncommon. That's a solid commander. I mean, that guarantee of red trample, you could put her, I mean, you could put goblins in there, and just that guarantee of red trample is going to,
that's true.
Is gonna, you're just gonna outpower them, you know, every time you're just gonna outpower them. +1/+1 to everybody attacking and trample on red. You know, eventually you're just gonna wear them down. You're gonna wear them down. So,
yeah, I love it. That's a solid pick.
Yeah. All right. Shoot it back to you for your number 2, Numbskull.
Number two. All right. So I had to pick at least one angel for it. We have Archangel of Wrath.
Ooh.
4 mana. She I guess we'll call her a she. She is an angel. It has
angels are female.
Is interesting. Okay. It has like 2 different ways. They're introducing like a dual option for kicker. So we can kick for black or red mana. And it looks like it lets you do the kicker an additional time, paying it twice. If you do it once, it's 2 damage to any target. If you do it twice, it's 2 more damage to any target. So it's like double shock built in for 2 extra. And you don't have to pay red to do it. You can just pay black to shock, which is phenomenal. Now here's what I think is really beneficial and where you really obtain value is this card has lifelink. And the Archangel is the one doing the damage, aka you kick it twice, it could just be gain 4 life, lose 4 life for 2 mana, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. People forget about that.
It's a 3/4 flying lifelink for 4 to begin with. So we're talking about mana spent to stats ratio. Once again, already good. Not a 4/4, but it has flying and lifelink. So for 4 mana, that's already valuable. Now you're getting a gain and drain for 4 mana. Well, at least that's how Jay and I think of it.
Yeah.
Gain and drain for 2 extra mana.
The goal,
or, you need to get rid of some pesky creatures.
The goal,
maybe you play it post combat. Who knows?
Yeah, the goal of any deck this is why me and Numbskull started this together. The goal of every one of our decks is to gain and drain. That's our number 1 goal. Even if we're playing green, we're trying to gain and drain.
We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out how. That's the main that's the whole point of Magic, really, for us, is to gain and drain. I realize there's other ways to win, but they're unimportant compared to gaining and draining. Yeah, people don't realize when a damage part of the rules is when a damage source is a card, the damage gets the ability of that card, meaning that if it's Death Touch and the card directly does 1 point of damage to somebody, that damage it does is Death Touch. So it doesn't have to be just its power and toughness damage. Any damage that generates from the card has the same abilities as the card. So again, gaining and draining or hitting for 2 and gaining that life back is pretty good. Being able to shock in black is,
it's pretty cool.
Is pretty
That's
good.
Sweet.
And if we're talking about entering the battlefield, why don't we ephemerate on this one? If we're talking Explorer, if we're talking a thing, let's blink it in and out.
Yeah.
Let's keep popping it in and out. Let's put it, slip out the back in blue. Let's run an Azorius Angels or a Esper Angels or something like that. Let's flash it in and out. Let's exit the battlefield and bring it back in and keep hitting it over and over again. Let's keep shooting out, these draining beams. So a lot of abilities.
I don't know how kicker. And I'm reading the card now. It says you may pay an additional black and or red as you cast. But
okay.
There's stuff that puts things back in your hand.
Oh yeah.
There's cards that do that too.
Yeah, if you want to return to your hand,
you can. Yeah, you can just bounce it.
Well,
you have other stuff to make it work.
That's actually kicker is, I think. One of the good things about kicker is I think Fading Hope is going to lose a lot of its appeal because of that. Because if the only real removal blue is running is to knock this back to your hand, that's actually worse off for them.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, finally.
Thank you, sir. I have another.
Yeah, so if they're like, oh well, the only removal I have is knockback, I have Fading Hope, and people get used to it. They say, well, I can just run Fading Hope and Fading Hope and Fading Hope. Archangel of Wrath will learn you real quick not to keep knocking it back to my hand, because I'm going to keep coming out and blasting you with it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Good kind of bounce tech on there too. So, I was thinking it wasn't kicker. I thought it was enter the battlefield, but it's kicker. It needs to be paid when it goes out. So, either way, pretty good.
Yeah. You also have cards cast this without paying its mana cost, where you're still casting it. So then you could pick kicker. So you have things where you could cheat it out and get extra value out of that kicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me move on to my number 2, and we're almost at the supreme prize on this one, guys. We're almost there. This one just got released today, and I immediately took somebody off the list, threw them in the trash. Forgot about him.
Oh, jeez.
And I've got to have this guy. You know I got to have it. Ratadrabik of Urborg. Urborg is, of course, the swamps of Dominaria. 1 black, 1 white, and 2 legendary creature, zombie wizard. Listen to this guy. He is a rare zombie wizard legendary creature, 3/3, vigilance, ward, 2 mana. We're just getting started on his stat block. Other zombies you control have vigilance. Whenever another non-legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary, and it's a 2/2 zombie in addition to all of its black zombie in addition to all of its other colors and types. So if you have legendary creatures, when they die, they come back as zombified versions of themselves that aren't legendary anymore. That means if we're combining that with something like it's like a Reflections of Kiki-Jiki, only with death. That is amazing. That is amazing. You could build a heavy legendary Orzhov deck. It's weird that it's Orzhov zombies, but if you wanted to run an Esper zombies, I don't even think you'd need the blue zombies so much. The only real blue zombie that's worth a damn is the commander zombie. I mean, the captain zombie that gives +1. You could run a beautiful Reanimator zombies here and just absolutely punish people with multiple versions of legendaries. All the zombies having vigilance is ridiculous. And the fact that it's got Ward 2 is ridiculous. And the fact that they just can't kill legendaries. All your legendaries come back as tokens. Like, that is brutal. It's kind of like Hrothri Ghostforge, who we are losing, except he brought back his spirits. He's actually cheaper. Ratadrabik of Urborg is cheaper and in black, which we'll, of course, have some black ramp for. I mean, he is just terrible. And the art is fantastic. The stained glass art, which I'm looking at right now. Yeah, and Ward. Just an absolute ton of stuff on this one. Utility like you wouldn't believe. If you're running zombie, even if you're not running zombies, the fact that basically you have to kill all of your... they have to kill every legendary twice is crazy. And that you can get multiple versions. You could get multiple versions of Thalia on the board and just lock them out. You know what I mean? You could put Thalia, lose a Thalia, and it comes back again as a Thalia, get another Thalia. You could even hit Thalia, hit Village Rites on it, sacrifice it, and just keep putting more and more out. Because there's an unlimited amount. They're not legendary anymore, so you can have multiple copies out. So, Death and Taxes, zombies...
It almost encourages you to not run zombies.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost just turn everybody else into zombies, you know.
I like that.
So a lot of Reanimator options here, a lot of multiple legendary options here, a lot to play with Ratadrabik or Urborg. Really fun stuff.
He is, he's a beast. Just being able to do like the non-legendary thing, I think that's phenomenal. I think, and then by the way, you get rewarded when they die. Now they also have vigilance, so that's super legit. I think that's great. You could run it with that 3-drop Kaya, and just like swing out with everything, and then you would get 2 copies of each one, non-legendary.
Exactly.
You -2 on the 3-drop Kaya. What is that, Ghost Hunter? Yeah, so that's, I don't know. You have some synergy, and once again, it's Orzhov. I think they are. I'm seeing more and more of a thing of like seems like they're trying to push you to run Orzhov, but like not necessarily like control, like actual like an Orzhov creature deck. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I love it. I love Orzhov.
It's a rare day that Wizards will tell you not to run a control deck. We take all the opportunities where cool. Wizards will give you the ability not to have to run a control deck and actually run a creature deck. I think for a while they forgot that you could actually cast creatures in this game, but because basically the top deck was just board wipes and creature lands, so I think that creatures got forgotten somewhere along the way there, so I'm glad we're back at it with that.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, here it goes, Num. What is your number 1 spot of the new cards out right now?
Number 1, we have Bay. It is Liliana of the Veil.
Oh. Did you think we'd forget about her?
She knows that I wouldn't forget about her, and that's all that matters. She's phenomenal. I'm sure a lot of you probably guessed that I would choose this card. The biggest thing here is that it's a 3-drop planeswalker that is effective, and it just adds 3-drop playable cards to mono black and other decks that run black. Now we have Ob and Liliana. Now your 4-drop is Sorin. We have a lot of good black planeswalkers that are rotating out. Onyx, Lolth, things like that. Gonna be really unfortunate to lose Lolth, but now we're getting Liliana the Veil back. So I'm sure plenty of you have heard the card before, used it. You may even own a couple copies from the previous prints of it.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate, Liliana the Veil, 1 colorless, 2 black. It is a legendary planeswalker. It is a Liliana planeswalker. The +1 ability is each player discards a card. -2 is target player sacrifices a creature. And then the -6 is separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. So don't forget that when things say like all permanents, note that you didn't see the word non-land in there. So yes, they will be forced to choose if they want to sacrifice some of their lands or not. So it's just a passive discard a card every turn for 3 turns. Okay, now take everything you have on the board and half of it goes away. Your choice.
Oof.
And it's 3 mana, not to mention, I always say, or I think Jay and I had said before, you can use your planeswalkers as a distraction to have the opponent not attacking your life total. Trust me, they're going to want to remove Liliana, because if you do the ult, that's just devastating. So I think it's phenomenal. We already have great art for her. Going to be a highly desired planeswalker, and
desired.
We love that she's back. Yeah, highly desired. Yeah,
highly desired.
Yeah,
a lot of desire there.
Very desiring.
Yeah, I love her. Listen, you know me. I love to run black discard. I like to get my turn 1 duress scoops. Nothing makes me happier than I play a black land and I play duress, and the other person says, I'm out of here, no thank you. You can hit hard with discard now. You have a 1-2-3 discard rotation with her. We're talking about turn 1 duress. We're talking about turn 2 the one from Extract the Truth. That's an enchantment or a creature. And turn 3 Liliana, I mean, you're hand ripping like crazy. God help you if they mulligan. The variety that they're going to have is you're just absolutely going to hand rip. And that's her +1. That's not her negative. That's her. That's what she's getting. That's what she's getting for bonuses. And you'll need to do that 3 times before you're doing her -6. Just an absolute powerful card. The biggest issue I see with her is being her only real drawback, in my opinion, is the 3 loyalty counter out the gate can be killed sometimes with some burn.
True.
So if they have something like a Sacred Fire or something like that, not a Sacred... Is it Sacred Fire? Any kind of 3 burn out the gate.
Yeah, Royal Eruption.
You've got to be able to watch it. You don't want to put them out there where they can hit it right away, because they can hit the instant before you can get to the +1, and they can burn you out right away. So that's probably the only thing you need to take care of when you first put her down, even before you can trigger, because it'll go on the stack. You can say +1, discard a card, and they say 3 damage, bang. So if they're going to quick draw you, if you're running red against them, that's probably the only one that I'm scared of, because it's hard to do instant 4 damage. There's not a lot of cards that do an instant 4.
That's true.
There's a lot of cards that do an instant 3. So I think that's her biggest downfall. But I mean, aside from that, man, the 1, 2, 3, 4 discard, I mean, you could just have somebody with nothing. You could just absolutely have somebody stripped down. It ain't nothing better than getting stripped down by Liliana. What else can you say? You can't even be mad if that happens. Liliana Vess, oddly enough, you want to hear some background lore. Her name is just an anagram for a villainous.
Oh,
that's all. That's all her whole name is. Liliana Vess is just an anagram of a villainess. So obviously, as J Villain,
a villainess.
She is near and dear to my heart, because she originally was just going to be like a generic villainous necromancer, and they kind of gave her a tragic backstory, and she became an anti-hero, and So she's gone through a lot. But yeah, just the anagram there is a fun one.
She's great.
She is really good. She's had a lot of growth as a character, as a non-evil black planeswalker or semi-evil black planeswalker. You know, showed that not all black is completely evil and terrible. So, interesting one. Speaking of evil and terrible,
I agree.
I am having, personally, an evil and terrible card as my number one spot, and that is going to be Braids, Arisen Nightmare.
Yes.
Oh, it's that sweet music. Oh, yes. Braids. Oh, she's so happy on the card. You look at the card art, she's got a big old smile as she uses her horrible black tentacles to suck life out of people. You gotta love what you do, and if your job is to suck the life out of people using darkness, you got to enjoy it.
Better like it. Yeah.
Yeah, she is a 3/3 legendary creature Nightmare, and she is rare. 2 black and 1. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. My goodness, man. Listen,
Phenomenal.
you just rip down your own side to rip them down, and if they don't want to, they have to lose life. When you've played a Invoke Despair and then finish with this, they're gonna have nothing, and who cares? Oh, well, I'm ripping down my own manas. I'm ripping down my own creatures. It's black. Rip down your own stuff. You're supposed to be ripping down your own stuff. As a black player, if you have anything on your board when the game's over, you're doing it wrong.
I like that.
Yeah.
And not to mention, blood tokens are artifacts too.
Exactly.
And there's synergy that where you benefit from sacrificing blood tokens. So I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, she is going to be terrible and powerful. And she's just going to rip people up. If we have chumps, if we have tokens, they have to sacrifice creatures. Like I said, I'll sacrifice lands. I don't care.
True.
Just do it again. If you're running Reanimator, it doesn't matter. If you could run an Orzhov and have multiple copies of her with the previous card we just mentioned with Ratadrabik, you could have 2 of her on the board potentially if you're running an Orzhov Ripper. Because you could sacrifice her and she comes back as a 2/2 zombie version and then recast her, and then you can do double it. So her with Ratadrabik, I mean, the amount of pain that you could bring out of this, the amount of hurt.
That is nice.
People are just going to absolutely suffer at this card's hands. They are absolutely just going to suffer. They're going to learn that they need to remove this card very quickly. That's why I think that she's going to look good in Dimir for a little bit of deflection. She's also going to look good with like a Fake Your Own Death or something like that to keep her on the board, because people are going to learn about her. They're going to see danger immediately when Braids hits the board. And she's just so cool. So I really love her. So what did you have to say about it, Num? Or did I pretty much cover it?
I think another thing that you can do, like, you have Braids out. I could see Braids working in Rakdos too, with like Anvil decks, especially when you run Ob.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you do casualty on Ob. Maybe you casualty for 1, and then you just sacrifice the Ob token when you sacrifice a Planeswalker, and then like, oh, maybe you hit their Teferi or their Kaito or Elspeth. You know, like a Planeswalker that's arguably more effective than just your 1 Ob, especially when you're going to still have another one after the fact. All right, well, you have 2 Obs, so you can spare 1, but now you get to hit their Elspeth or whatever. Now, they might just take the 2 life, but you know what I mean? That starts to be very beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Having those extra casualty Obs, you know, to sacrifice to get rid of other stuff. Having a ton of tokens or something like that. Even, like you said, blood tokens, treasure tokens even. Those are artifacts too. Sacrifice treasure tokens.
Yeah. Yeah. And having a sack outlet without having to pay mana too, that really, I know that speaks to you as much as it speaks to me.
Oh yeah. Sacrifices, yeah. And that's the thing, man. This is pure black right here. This is pure black playing. This is, I will rip down my own board side. I'll rip down my manas if it means that you lose. It's power and victory through any cost. That is 100% pure black philosophy. Yeah. I mean, the dead center of the color pie right there for you. It is just lose life, it's a fait accompli. It's just you're gonna lose something. What do you want to lose? You want to lose your creatures? You want to lose your life? But it's gonna hurt you too. I don't care if it hurts me. I'm good with it. I made this decision. You didn't. So fantastic card there. Really looking forward to that. And with that card draw at the end there, you're gonna get a lot of card value, especially like I said with Invoke Despair, and it's gonna pair very nicely with our final pick. Now our final pick, if we can move quickly into our final pick, or rather tenderly into our final pick. We both, when we said we have to do the top 5, we both said, okay, my number 1 is this. Who's going to take it? Are you going to take it? Are you going to take it? Who's going to take it? And we said, we can't. We can't. She has to be above number 1. She has to be beyond the system itself. Because we would have both picked her for our number 1 card spot. And she's just going to have to be our number 1 card. A joint Skull and Villain approved number 1 new black card coming out. Sheoldred, the Apocalypse. 2 black, 2 colorless, legendary creature, the Phyrexian Praetor herself. 4/5 death touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life.
It's too easy. She just makes it too easy.
This card
there's a lot you can do.
Is so versatile. You could force people to draw cards. They're going to lose life. Whenever you're gaining all these black cards that let you draw life, you're going to gain 2 life off them. When you're drawing multiples, if you're doing something, if you're forcing card draws on somebody else, you could even do the Scorpion one. What's that called? The Serrated Scorpion?
Death touch. Not the serrated.
Not serrated.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about, though. It's a
zombie scorpion.
3/2 death touch.
Yeah, it's a 3/2 zombie scorpion. It's called the I can't remember. I'm so terrible with card names. I'm glad they have pictures on them. Otherwise, I'd never be able to play this game. So you can makes people force draw scorpions. Make people force draw cards, and they lose life on it, and they lose life again for each one that they draw.
Fell Stinger.
Fell Stinger, that's what I'm talking about.
There it is.
You can play Fell Stinger on somebody, make them draw the cards. They lose 4 life total. Yeah, they get extra cards in their hand, but they've just lost 6 life. I mean, that's not helpful. You know,
that could finish a game.
That could finish a game right there. I've killed people with Fell Scorpion just on its own. With her going down, I mean, even just her beefiness, her thickness. First of all, let's talk about this lady here. She has scale dragons on her. She's a gigantic worm monster. All right, you're talking about you want a girl who's thick. Get a girl who's thick, who's a Phyrexian thick, who has a mile-long tail made out of segmented metal parts. You know what I'm saying? So this is
someone ask me how thick I want my milkshake. I'm gonna show them the Sheoldred.
You gotta show them Sheoldred. Yeah, just listen. We're talking about this is the Phyrexian mommy right here. This is big death touch Phyrexian mommy that is gonna take over the world, and I'm gonna help her. You know,
help her. Yeah.
So this is what we want. This is everything that me and Numbskull want in a card. Gain and drain. You know, that's basically the whole name. The whole function of our goals here. Force draw, we draw cards. If we're talking in, you know that I'm going to have a historic deck and pair it with Veto. She's going to pair nicely with Veto because she's going to make you lose life. Anytime that I'm gaining life, you're going to lose life on top of the draws. Absolutely deadly. Of course, it's a 4/2 death touch for only 4. I mean, that's value right there, but everything else that she's doing is fantastic. And of course, she says,
peer into the abyss.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forgot. I used to run those. I ran some Nightmare Abyss.
Underworld Dreams.
Yeah. Underworld Dreams and Peer into the Abyss. Yeah, that'll kill somebody real quick. So there's going to be some brutal historic and explorer combos with these. I mean, even as a commander, I know people don't like monocolored commanders, but damn. I mean, if you're doing gain and drain commander, you couldn't ask for a better one than this. Like, this is a gain and drain commander to end all. Like, I know it's unpopular. You want like a triple.
She's a good commander.
She is just beautiful. And like I said, combine her with Braids so that whenever you draw a card, they're gonna lose 2 life and you draw a card at Braids. So they're gonna lose 2 life. You're gonna gain 2 life.
Yeah.
There's just so many combos you can pull off with her. You could put her in Esper, you could put her in anything really, and just absolutely run the board. So the only bad side is she is going to be an immediate target for removal. So we're going to have to run some protection on her. I think that's why she might work really well in Golgari. So we can run some hexproof on her.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, turn 3 Braids, turn 4 Sheoldred. Or turn 3 Liliana, turn 4 Sheoldred. Just take your pick. You have a toolbox of effective mid-rangey black permanents now, which I love that.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're bringing back the power in the mid-range. There was way too much aggro, way too much late game control. Too many blue bombs and stuff like that. Blue cards that cost 8 mana but completely win the game for you, like Hullbreaker. We need more of the metal. We need more of the center. We need more of the mid game. I think that's where the fun's to be had. But hey, that's me. I'm old school. So.
Me too.
So what can I say?
Yeah,
Sheoldred's
gonna be great.
She's it. She is Bae this season. I'm gonna be crafting a lot of her right out the gate, for sure.
And I think we can. And now it's a little. There might be an extra step to it, but there's a standard peer into the abyss combo here. Shakedown heavy, casualty 6 on an Ob Nixilis, +1 the token to get it to 7. Then the next turn you drop Sheoldred, and then you do the ultimate on the token that has 7.
Oh.
Lose 7 life, and then Sheoldred will make them lose 14 more. That will be 21 damage in 1 turn.
That is the 21 damage hit on the 4. Yeah, if all those parts come together, that is a brutal Rakdos. So that is if you can get some ramp in there, if you can get some Dark Ritual or something. I heard they're bringing back Dark Ritual. I don't know if that's true or not. We haven't seen it released yet. So that was a rumor anyways. So, I mean, that would be incredible because then you'd be able to play a turn 1 a Shakedown heavy, which I think would just be too much, but that's just too dangerous.
All the Phyrexian stuff,
I
guess it wouldn't surprise me if they brought back Dark Ritual.
It was brought back in Limited in Amonkhet. You had some...
Okay.
Yeah. It was like in the special cards that looked like they were like Egyptian tablets. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can run that 21 damage combo off the rip. If you can get it off, it's got to be disrupted, but man, you can really hurt people with this card. Just the amount of combos that you can pull off, the limitless potential here. I think we've gushed enough about Sheoldred. Plus, she's just so attractive. I mean, come on.
She's great.
She's just a crazy monster. I mean, hey, listen, there's something to be said about Elish Norn. She's good looking too. Okay,
sure.
If you like that horrible chopped up, look. If we're talking, listen, do you like goth girls or do you really like goth girls? That's the question. Do you like girls who are just wearing black t-shirts or do you really want a goth girl? Do you want a goth girl so much that she's replaced most of her body with metallic parts? That's the question you got to ask yourself. How deep into it are you?
We have the one for you.
Yeah. So that's going to be Sheoldred. And we haven't seen that, oddly enough, on that word, we have every new Phyrexian Praetor. We don't have an Elish Norn.
It might be in spoilers. We'll see.
We might get one. We might not.
Or maybe it comes in the next set, because I know I'm not done with the Phyrexians either.
Yeah, no, we're going heavy into Phyrexia soon. We're going heavy into Phyrexia soon, so maybe we're rating on the new Elish Norn. But we've got almost every single Phyrexian Praetor back, so we're gonna have to see.
And to note, I did find another Defiler. I found a blue one.
Oh, okay. So there is a blue Defiler. The only ones I saw so far was the white and the... What is the blue one?
Yeah, on my Defiler of Dreams, same thing, giving the blue mana as Phyrexian, and then you draw a card when you cast a blue permanent. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Okay.
It's a 4/3 flyer for 5, so not the best stats, but lots of card draw. So
yeah,
it might be
it fits Dimir. It fits Dimir, but maybe not a whole lot of value in that immediately. So yeah, those are our picks.
Yeah.
Will you have anything else to say?
I just wanted to know. I had one honorable mention. I really considered
Throw
it.
them out there.
It is a card called Defiler, or no, sorry, not Defiler. That's what we were just talking about. It's called Pilfer.
Yeah.
It's literally a 2-mana Thoughtseize that doesn't make you lose life, and it's going to replace check for traps. You just don't have, like, you gain a life if you take a flash or instant, and then you don't lose a life otherwise. It's just straight up, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose an online card from it, that player discards that card. Just non-land, period. So I know we were talking about mono black discard decks with Liliana. There's your nice little turn 2 action. There's your kind of check for traps, if you will, because that's going to rotate out with the AFR set.
Okay, all right.
So
and,
we do have a support for that still, which
definitely.
is good, you know?
So I feel like we've given a variety here, and I want to hear some feedback. What are some other people's best and worst that they think are coming out? Again, I never try to make, especially when I make new decks to put out, so a lot of people say, oh, my rotation is screwing up all my decks. That's part of it, man. You can't get too comfortable in Magic. I like that it's going to change. The other thing is there's always cheap options that are going to change up the game. Stuff like Twinferno, you know, that there's going to be uncommon cards that are just going to shake things up. And they're going to be easy and accessible. So you really should already be saving gold. You really should already be saving some wilds. You shouldn't be go nuts and building new decks. Because there's definitely, if you can't, when rotation comes, you don't have to build a deck completely out of new cards. Take one of your old decks, take the old stuff out of it, and try to slot in some of the new stuff. That's all you have to do. It's not that expensive early on to adapt it. I mean, yeah, if you had a deck that was almost completely Strixhaven, then maybe that's going to be a little tricky, but...
Well,
you know, but now's the time to start even thinking about half rotation proof and what could I slot in as it goes in. So I hope you appreciated this. I hope you really liked this preview. Again, big shout out to Bloodchief and Paradaba, our newest patrons, and Bloodchief specifically for, you know, throwing the idea out there of what he'd like to see. Again, hit up the Patreon if you want to suggest, if you want to see the videos early, if you want, you know, the VIP treatment, you want everything that you want. Help support us on the podcast here. We'd love to do another one pre-release, maybe a standard shakeup, maybe the worst cards. I don't know. We haven't really thought about what episode 2 is going to be yet. We want to hear from you what episode 2 is going to be yet. So maybe we'll put up a poll on the on the Patreon site, and the patrons can vote on what they want to see. So we've got a lot of options.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of different things that we can do. And we want your help. This is the round table, guys. And again, if you're a content creator and you want to be featured on this, you want to join in, you want to be interviewed, you want to be just joining in this conversation, hit us up. We'd love to hear you. You can leave a comment, contact us on Discord, either one of us, Numbskull or I, or you can send us an email to theblackcouncil@gmail.com. That you can send us an email there too, in case you want to do that and be more formal about it. I don't know, you want to be fancy about it. But
send us a letter.
Send us if you want to send us a telegram, you can go to Western Union and they'll do a telegram and they'll send it by wire. They'll go and then a guy in a uniform and a fancy hat will come deliver it to me. So
yeah, I'll think I'm getting arrested or something. I'll probably run. The feds got me.
No, they got me. Yeah.
I think the FBI guy was in my phone.
Oh no. Yeah, so you were talking about too much about that good Phyrexianussy.
Yeah. There's too much Phyrexianussy in my phone.
It's too much Phyrexianussy in my phone, man. They said it's got me acting wrong between I had drawings of Sheoldred, of me with Sheoldred and Braids simultaneously, and they said you can't have that, man. That's violating that's all kind of stuff, man.
All kind of international maritime laws.
Yeah, and the laws of and the laws of nature as well. But those are less enforceable than maritime. But we had a good time today. I'm really happy about our picks. I'm really excited. I think they're really cool. I'm really looking forward to rotation, guys. Tell us what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like, take a comment, give a like, whatever. And we'll see you in the next one. We'll do another recording next week. We'll try to get one of these out every week is what we want to do. And again, if you want to support by month, by episode, either way, any little bit is helpful. Every split goes 50-50 between us, and we'd love to have you be a part of the the Roundtable podcast here. So again, thanks to our patrons. Thanks to everyone else. I've been Jay Villain. You've been great. And as always, my co-host, Numbskull.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed.